I want to take a minute to thank Mad Black 80 for sending me this story on Facebook. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have known about this whole story as related to the man crisis.
Now available for the first time on Google Play, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are falling apart in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy on Google Play today.
A 14-year-old teenager has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder for stabbing one of his classmates 114 times. Now, in this incident, which took place in St. Johns County, Florida, 14-year-old Aiden Fucci is alleged to have stabbed his classmate, cheerleader Tristyn Bailey, 114 times with a folding knife and left her body in a pond. Now, many are seeing this as just another isolated incident of depravity, but when I take a critical examination of your Aiden Fucci's alleged behavior, it fits the pattern and profile I talk about regarding beta males in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that your Aiden Fucci was a textbook beta male, like I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, because he clearly fits the pattern and profile I talk about regarding beta males in the man crisis as related to the beta male rage, the sexual frustration of the beta male, and the sexual deviancy of the beta male. And he fits that pattern because his beta male father before him, Jason Fucci, was arrested for participating in acts of sexual deviancy way before this, and he is alleged to have been jailed for child abuse. So the father passed on his depraved behavior onto his son, who he may have been possibly been abusing. And that abuse that he suffered at the hands of his father may have led to him having his own beta male rage, where he was sitting there simmering and boiling in anger about the way he was being mistreated at home. And as he was simmering and boiling in anger about the way he was treated at home, he was looking for somebody's life to destroy so that he could go out here and have power over someone else. And your Aiden Fucci was probably thinking that same way as he was talking to friends when he showed them the knife that he said he was going to kill someone with before he went out here and allegedly murdered your Tristyn Bailey. Now, I believe your Aiden Fucci probably picked your Tristyn Bailey for this murder that he said he was wanted to participate in because he not only wanted to destroy somebody's life, but he also wanted to go out in infamy after he went out here and participated in this murder. So he probably thought if he murdered this cheerleader, he would get the most attention from the media because murdering a popular person would draw attention from him as related to the infamous actions he would participate in. So your Aiden Fucci, allegedly with malice aforethought, probably led this Tristyn Bailey away and then wound up murdering her, and as he exploded in the rage where he was stabbing her with this knife 114 times. And the reason why I say he was exploding in a rage is because of the number of times he stabbed this woman to kill her. I mean, he stabbed her over 114 times, and that shows, one, malice of forethought, and it also shows intent to kill, and it also showed that he was so angry to the point where, as he was stabbing this girl in the head with this knife, the knife practically broke, the tip of it broke off as he was stabbing her. So this male, as he was murdering this young girl allegedly, he was not just killing this girl, he was taking out his anger as related to his life on this girl, and he was doing this again with complete malice of forethought, and he was killing her to explode in that rage where he was taking out all of his anger passively but aggressively, going out here hoping to go out in infamy once this murder was found out about, because your Aiden Fucci, after the murder was found out about, he practically went out here flamboyant about it, practically admitting it, and going out here putting up a peace sign in the car as he was arrested. And that could be implied by law enforcement to be some sort of confession to show the malice of forethought. Now, the St. Johns County Police originally were just going to charge this 14-year-old boy with second-degree murder, but after looking at the number of times he stabbed the girl and then posted a picture of himself on social media where he was, again, in the police car taking a selfie inside of the police car, pointing his fingers up, this really showed so much malice of forethought that they had to up the charge to first-degree murder. And this 14-year-old boy's behavior was so heinous that the police basically had to charge him as an adult, because this boy's behavior was just so depraved that he just went out here, murdered this girl just to do it, and then practically just didn't care. And again, that just shows you how depraved some of these beta males are as related to the spectrum of their extremely violent behaviors. And when I look at Aiden Fucci's behavior here in this case, he clearly shows me, again, the explosive beta male rage and the extreme violence that these beta males participate in when they go out here and explode in their rages. And this beta male was so twisted, he took his depraved behavior from the secret world many beta males live in into the real world, and that just shows you how twisted and depraved this beta male was. But when I take a further critical examination of your Aiden Fucci, he is another textbook example of a man in crisis, and he shows us how dangerous these beta males in crisis are to the overall public. Because when you look at Aiden Fucci, this is intergenerational beta male behavior, and that intergenerational beta male behavior passed the violent and dysfunctional behavior from the father onto the son. Now, the father modeled this dysfunctional behavior in front of his son, and as he was abusing his son, he learned these dysfunctional ways on how to cope with conflicts and his own unresolved issues. And as this boy was growing up, simmering and boiling in anger, instead of him learning how to navigate through his emotions and work through his feelings and problem solve, instead he learned to go out here and take out his frustrations on the innocent, and that's why he deliberately planned the murder of this 13-year-old cheerleader, thinking that this would be a way to go out in infamy in the short term, not understanding that his actions have long-term consequences. Now, your Aiden Fucci was smiling and celebrating in the police car, taking a selfie and putting up a peace sign in order to get likes on social media, but I doubt he'll like what will happen to him if he is convicted of this crime. Because if he is convicted of this crime and has to spend the rest of his life in prison, he's not going to like having to deal with Bubba and Tiny inside of the penitentiary, and he's not going to like having to deal with the whole idea of having to live his life hoping somebody will put some money on his books, working for slave wages, or possibly having to deal with exchanging things for ramen noodles, Little Debbie snack cakes, or your Fritos chips, because that is the end game of anybody who goes out here and commits murder. Yes, this boy will get some short-term infamy in the media as related to the news cycle, but long term, he is going to be in prison for the rest of his life, and his life is practically over at this point at 14 years old because he's no longer going to be a part of the world anymore. And he wasn't thinking about this because he was so caught up in his feelings, like beta males usually do get caught up in their feelings. All they do is feel about whatever is going on in their life, not thinking about working on a long-term future plan for themselves. And again, this whole case just shows me how a boy winds up growing up on the road to becoming a man in crisis because he has a dysfunctional father in his life. And it just shows that not all fathers are good fathers, because a beta male father, when he's in a boy's life, all he does is model dysfunction, and that dysfunction winds up being carried on to the son, who, after being abused by the beta male father, then goes out here and abuses society, and then winds up becoming a part of the prison system. So when I look at the whole case of Aiden Fucci, it fits the pattern and profile I talk about regarding beta males in my book, The Man Crisis. And this ticking time bomb wound up exploding in a rage where he wound up murdering this 13-year-old girl, taking her life. And he had all malice aforethought and thought it was a game, but I guarantee you that he won't be smiling once they get him in that prison system. And once Bubba and Tiny get a hold of him, they're going to turn that frown upside down. Now, if you want to learn more about why beta males like Aiden Fucci, who have alleged to participate in this murder, participate in their depraved and criminal acts, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, which breaks down why beta males participate in the spectrum of extremely violent behaviors they participate in, and why they are extremely dangerous to have around. And you can find that book on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos about the Man Crisis, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and ebook, The Man Who Rules the World. John Hayes must bring together men and gods to overcome a threat that seeks to destroy the planet. The Man Who Rules the World. Now available in paperback and e-readers everywhere.